Hello, everyone. My name is Azul Melgar. I use she, her pronouns. I am the program manager over at CCA for youth programs and continued education. I'm so very sorry I wasn't able to join you guys for this Sunday's webinar, but I am very grateful to be able to record this so I can offer you more insights on some of the slideshows. Thankfully, the wonderful team over at CalColor did a wonderful job at covering some of the slides I was supposed to present to you. And since some of them, it seems like we're very clear and straightforward, I'm just going to go ahead and skip over to some of the slides that I think require a lot more insight and some of the information that I think I can offer to you as a program manager over at CCA and someone that oversees the Scholastic Art Awards for the Bay Area region. So let's go ahead and get started. Um, there am I, there I am. And then so, like I said, some of this information, this is something you can find on the website, and I think CalColor did a wonderful job at going over it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and skip to the criteria. This is, I think, something that a lot of you have shown a lot of interest. You're very curious to know and fully understand what goes into the judgment process, which can help you make decisions, better decisions on what kind of work you can submit. So, first of all, this is also something we've seen on the website. Nothing too new, but let's go over it real quick. The three main things judges are looking for when judging is originality, skill, and the emergence of a personal voice or vision. And what the ways that these show up in works, for example, originality, that is something that the judges will look at and they're like, okay, this is something I haven't seen before, or this is something I've seen before, but with a twist or a perspective I haven't considered before. So originality can be very self-explanatory, but also sometimes kind of hard to explain. And that's why in the later slides, we'll go over some concrete examples. In terms of skill, this is, I think, one of the easier ones to explain. Excuse me, as it revolves around like the actual craftsmanship, the actual skills you can develop in a classroom with a mentor or by yourself at home. This is something that a lot of people will prioritize when submitting to competitions, and it is absolutely an important skill to have, skill, but it's definitely not the only one, and that's why we'll go over the rest. And lastly, we have the emergence of a personal voice and vision, which is, I think, in this case, one of the things that get overlooked the most, but the thing that can give you, an advantage over other people. So let's go over some concrete examples. Oh, sorry. And of course, before we move on, um, definitely keeping in mind copyright and plagiarism and the use of AI tools. I know CalColor team already went over this, and there were even some questions at the end of the webinar around this. But I would highly recommend you spend some time going on the Scholastics Art Awards, the main website. They have recently released their newest protocols and their newest policy around AI specifically. The copyright and plagiarism stands pretty much the same as every year. But I would highly, highly recommend you go online and look at what they have recently released. As the world continues to evolve and technologies evolve, these policies need to be adaptive. So whatever was true last year might not be exactly the same this year in terms of AI tools. So please go ahead and read that carefully if you are planning on using any of these tools in any capacity. Now, if we are talking about the judging process itself, this is some of the information that you probably haven't had access to before. Not that it's necessarily a secret, not that we're trying to gatekeep some of this information, but it just so happens that our team, each region approaches some of these things slightly differently. It will highly depend on the amount of work submitted. So it doesn't make sense for the alliance to say that this is how things are judged because they vary from region to region. But as someone that is, you guys, you're applying to the California region, to specifically the Bay Area region, and that's where I can come in handy and I can tell you how we do the process specifically at CCA. So, what does the adjudication process even look like? First of all, very important to know that all of our jury is comprised of CCA faculty. These are people who have been teaching at CCA, some of them for over 10 years, some of them for over 20 years, and these are professional artists in their field who both teach at CCA and also practice, have a creative practice, which means this gives us the opportunity to get judges from each one of the categories. So for the architecture category, we would actually get an architecture instructor, some faculty that have that experience. And also good to know is that each panel has three judges and one facilitator. So we have four people in the room reviewing the work. Three of them will try to make sure out of the three judges, at least one of them has the background in the category. But it's also always nice to bring in people from different backgrounds and different practices. So maybe in the to continue with the example of architecture, if we have one architecture faculty, one interior design or graphic design um, um, judge, and then someone else that maybe it's painting and drawing, they can all bring in their perspective and be able to judge the work in a more holistic way. And then, of course, there's a facilitator, which tends to be people from my team, some of the more admin side of things. We help the judges move along with all the work and stay within our time frame. And then the adjudications also happen across multiple days, depending on the volume of work submitted. This last year, we had over 7,000 works submitted. So this required a total, I realize here I wrote 19, but in reality it was 23. I went back and reviewed, and it was 23 individual panels of up to 3 hours each. There were only one or two that lasted 2 hours, but almost all of them were at least 3 hours. And we did it across almost a whole week. And we were just going over these submissions, trying to make a very, very, dedicated and very careful decision on the work. But we did have over 7,000 pieces submitted, like I said. So it did take that long. And we are anticipating just as much, if not more, this year. The other thing to note is that judging is completely blind. Sorry, I'm realizing a typo there, bling. The the judging is completely blind. So the jury, they do not see the name of the student, they don't see their age, they don't know what grade they're in, and they also don't know their gender. So all they're looking at is the work that you have submitted, and they're looking at your description and any resources that you have shared. Sometimes students will share the links of references they've used to make sure that whatever plagiarism, policies are in place, that they're not breaking those. They like to submit some of these links of reference photos they've used. So that's something you should look into if you're planning on using a lot of reference images, or sometimes even video inspirations. And lastly, works are judged by category. Like I mentioned, we have different categories, and that's how we choose most of our faculty to be judges by category. Now, let's actually look at some of the case studies of winning and non-winning works. The first one we're going to review, and let me just make sure we're still recording. Yes, wonderful. The first one we're going to review, I believe the title is in French. I'm not going to try to butcher it. Jamais vu, I believe. But this is a piece that won a lot of awards. Excuse me. We had the regional one that we offered, the Gold Key winner. But they also got a medal, a gold medal winner, a gold medal, which is at a national level. And then they also were a recipient of the American Visions Award. So at TCA, out of the 7,000 submissions we got, we were able to choose 5 pieces to be considered nominees for the American Visions Awards. And out of those 5, and each region gets to submit their 5. And out of all the hundreds that were submitted on a national level, we were very proud to see that this one was one of the few that got the award for American Vision. So very proud of this piece, and I think it's a really good example of a piece that is stronger also by the description. So if you look at it at first, this is actually quite a small piece once I saw it in person. It's pretty small, very, I'd say the colors and the way you look at it, it doesn't shout at you. This is not a piece that is trying to draw your attention with loud colors or a very clear subject, right? You look at it at first and you're a little bit confused maybe as to what are you looking at. You're seeing these cuts, you're seeing these layers. You do catch like a little bit of the silhouette of a person there. So as judges, we're looking at this piece, and first of all, that's something that's very intriguing. Like I said, it's not yelling at you with bright colors or a very striking composition, but it's very intriguing. And so when the student also submits the description and we put it all together, it turns out to be a very wonderfully developed piece that has so many layers and a very beautiful story behind it. So hopefully you all had a chance to read it. Because of time, I'm not going to go over it right now. But I hope this is an example of how when you are submitting your work, you should 100% spend the time thinking about what you want to say about the piece. And if you find that you're not very sure what to say about it, or you don't have much to say about it, that might be a sign that this is not a piece that you should submit. Not, and I don't want to say that, that to discourage you from submitting something you're very proud of, but usually having a strong concept or having a really strong idea that you want to share with words as well tends to indicate a piece that also has a strong voice. And having a strong voice or personal vision is one of the main criteria. So I would say, as you're trying to select what work to submit, definitely lean towards the ones that excite you in terms of like the story that you want to tell, or what was it behind the painting? What is something else you want people to know about this painting or this drawing? I would say that's a very good indicator. Um, Now let's look at the next one, which is A Fleeting Moment. This one also got a gold key winner. It's also a gold key winner. And they didn't win the American Visions Awards, but they're the other nominees. All of the pieces we're looking at today were nominees for the American Visions Awards. And so this one is also striking, very different from the other one. This one is striking in terms of composition and color. The fact that it's all blue, the fact that it has like these movement, these lines that pull you into where the woman is like tying the balloons. This is a very beautiful piece that draws your attention immediately. But just like the last one, the fact that it's a striking piece by itself is not enough. I would say definitely the fact that it has a strong story behind it helps us connect to the piece more and it helps the judges remember it. Because if you think about it, these judges are looking at over 7,000 pieces. The ones that have the stronger stories or the stronger concepts behind it are the ones that they're going to remember. So, again, I hope you have some time to read the description. You can probably also pause this video and read it from my screen. And now we go to the next one, Forest of Purity and its intersection. So this one, again, I won't repeat myself too much, but I want you to notice the composition, the colors, how the piece by itself speaks a lot, and then we have a description that helps us connect everything together. And to tie in a little bit of these thoughts that I just shared, let's go once again over the three main criteria: originality, skill, and personal voice or vision. So we can see how all three pieces here challenge the viewer's expectations and elicit curiosity. Like I mentioned, the first piece, you look at it and you're not sure what's happening. You have the cuts, the pieces, the figure kind of peeking from the background, or the first or the next two, which are more striking in contrast, in color, in composition. We also have a very clear demonstration of skillful use and compelling composition. We have also the skills themselves prove and support the concept. So there's one thing is having a strong piece, and the other thing is having a strong piece that helps communicate what the artist is trying to communicate, right? We can have a very strong story and a very strong piece, but they might not make sense together. So skillful, the use of skill is also being able to connect the two. And lastly, personal voice. Again, I want to reiterate how important it is to have a strong story to tell, a strong concept, something that you can put into words and can really benefit the piece. So now if we look at some pieces that were also strong submissions, but didn't get through Um, we can look at some examples. This is something that we're very grateful for. One of our judges from last year was kind enough to give us some feedback for these three pieces. So what we're going to read is actually coming from one of our judges from last year, and she will be judging again this year. So this piece demonstrates great technical skill, but lacks the personal voice and originality. So we can see it here, a beautiful study showing very, very good observation skills, very beautiful rendering. But the thing is, what would this person write? What would the story behind it be? There's probably not much there. Here we have one of the notes. It says, would love to see the artist push this work beyond the rudimentary study to show more a specific point of view or convey more of a complex idea or viewpoint. So yes, it doesn't matter how skillful you are, if you don't have something to say with these skills, then the Scholastic Art Awards might not be the right place to submit the work. We also have a very beautiful landscape here. This piece has a great composition, but lacks technical skill or originality. In this case, we're looking at some notes from the judges saying that this work needed more time. You can see still some of the pencil drawings of the sketch underneath. You can see some places where it could really benefit from adding more detail and just more time dedicated to it. But also the judges are, in this case, they're pushing the artist to consider using colors that are not just straight from the tube, right? We're looking for a personal voice, but also for use of colors that are exciting and more original. Anyone can buy, paintings from the store and use those exact same colors. And if everyone did that, we would have paintings with the exact same colors, right? So finding interesting ways to mix them would be a great opportunity for this piece to stand out more. And lastly, we have a piece that is actually very exciting, very beautiful. It shows a unique point of view. The technique itself is intriguing, but it does lack a little bit more of that polish. It would require a little bit more work and a little bit more skill and experience to be able to push that idea further. So, as the judge notes here, we'd like to see the ideas and concept conveyed more clearly, and also bolder colors and shapes in the background would balance out the composition. So these are just things to consider. All of these pieces are good pieces. It's just a matter of considering all three criteria if you want to have a chance at winning any or being recognized in any level in the Scholastic Art Awards. And let me see. This is obviously some beautiful pieces that we were able to hear from students at CalColor. So I'll skip through this. And I believe really it's more at the end. We had some FAQs. I know you all read through those. Um, and then briefly an introduction of CCA. We are an action-oriented art, design, and architectural school in San Francisco. California College of the Arts attracts promising students from around the world who want to attend one of the best art and design schools in the US. We educate talented visionary students to become versatile makers with inventive solutions to advance culture and society. So not only does CCA offer college level programming, we also have our youth programs. So basically, CCA opens its experiences to artists, designers, and makers of all ages. And we can offer credit and non-credit programs as well for youth. For example, a pre-college program, which you can get up to three college credits. And we have them all year round. And yeah, at the end, we have a little QR code if you're interested in learning more. Otherwise, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you all. I really hope you are excited, as excited as we all are for this exhibition that might be coming up at the end of the awards. We're very excited to have you submit all your beautiful work and just hope you understand that even if you don't get uh, an award, even if you don't get recognized, this is always one of the best ways for you to push yourself and keep learning. And you can keep applying each year until maybe you feel like you have reached your own personal goals in developing your personal skills. So thank you so much for everything, and we'll see you at the competition. Thank you.